All right, we're crack-a-lacking, and we've been hanging out at this base camp I've called Hard Sayings for the past few weeks now, and I'm going to be honest with you, it's not been a comfortable stop at all. And it wasn't meant to be. Because actually over the last couple, 3 weeks, we've dealt with this issue of offense. I could have put that in way back in January when we started out with those little pitfalls. But offense needed to be really honed in on and dealt with as its own little topic. So these collisions were designed to make us stop and take a hard look on the inside and begin the awakening process. At this place in our journey, things need to be laid down, stripped away in order to create space to awaken something new, to awaken us, because we're going to start that journey back up the mountain here next week. And before we resume the climb, I want you to take another look at the summit. When we saw it before, it was flaming, shaking, thunder, lightning, and all that. But now that we've came to this place and we've shed some things, hopefully you have. I just give you a warning, if you've not changed at all over these last few months, you're toast. You're not going to be able to make it up the mountain carrying the same stuff that you've been carrying, believing the same things you've been believing. This was a camp of hard sayings where Jesus said, unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you have no part in me. And the people said, tweaked out, and walked away. And there's going to be some people that walk away. But again, this is your journey. It's my journey. I'm just taking it, I'm leading it. Anyone who wants to come along, come along. But I know at the top's a whole lot better than at the bottom. It's not that you're going to get more of God. It's not that you're going to have that more intimacy of God. What you're going to do is leave the old man behind. Because we've been carrying that dead thing for way too long. And it needs to finally go. And I guarantee you, if you take a look at that mountaintop, it's going to look wildly different than when we first arrived at this base camp. Because now your eyes are clearer. And your load should be lighter. Your perspective has more clarity than when you first started. And here's a kingdom principle worth locking in. So grasp this. What you consistently focus on, you will move towards. You'll naturally gravitate whatever you focus on. You know, try that driving. I do it all the time. And she's always telling me, eyes forward. Because if I start looking over on the right, guess what the vehicle starts doing? Drifting over there. Why? Because what you focus on, you kind of head towards. And it's the same thing. If you focus on sickness, you're going to head towards more sickness. You focus on poverty or lack, you're going to head more towards there. It's a biblical principle. It's a spiritual principle. So this morning, I want to give you something that's worth focusing on before we start heading up that mountain again. So as we finish out on Acts 19, Luke gives us a clear snapshot of what summit living kingdom beings actually look like. In our text, we find a man who walks into the same riot, the same mob, the same chaos we've been examining in the last couple of weeks. And what's interesting, he was completely unaffected by it. Not because he was unaware of what was happening around him, but because of what he was carrying on the inside. That is the contrast that we're going to examine this morning. The crowd was on one side, totally out of control. This man was on the other, operating from a place of complete peace and clarity. And here's the principle to capture. There's a glaring difference between those who live at the bottom of the mountain and those who live at the top. So let's look at that contrast this morning. We want to see first in verse 35 that the crowd was reactive. And this is where the mayor is introduced. into the picture. We kind of skipped over Alexander. They put up Alexander in a couple of verses before this to give a speech, and when they found out he was Jewish, they just shouted him down for 2 hours, did not even let him speak. So now after that incident, now the mayor shows up in verse 35. It says this, the mayor of the city was finally able to quiet them down. Citizens of Ephesus, he said, everyone knows that Ephesus is the official guardian of the temple of the great Artemis, whose image fell down to us from heaven. Now think about what Luke's describing here. This is the same crowd that just shouted down Alexander, never letting him have a single word. The same crowd that was in total chaos, yelling, screaming, and as Luke clearly told us, they didn't even know why they were there. They didn't even understand what was going on. This wasn't simply a mild disagreement. This was a full-blown riot. And this is the exact atmosphere the mayor walked right into. Now catch this. The man never raised his voice. He never got animated. He never tried to match the emotional energy of that crowd at the time. He simply walked in, began to speak, and the atmosphere completely shifted. This is something worth noting. Because you'll see others, even when you see these gatherings we see in society today, you got one crowd on one side, one crowd on the other side, and they're both trying to match the energy, both trying to create a fervor. And the mayor walked into a mess like that, never got animated, never elevated himself emotionally, walked in complete peace and clarity into the situation. See, the crowd had been feeding off each other for hours. Emotion producing more emotion, outrage fueling more outrage. That is what unchecked groupthink always does. It multiplies. It has no limits nor clear direction. It simply escalates until something or someone interrupts it. Or someone gets hurt. That's the interruption. It just keeps escalating and escalating and escalating. The mayor walked into that situation confident and with total clarity. The emotionally charged atmosphere had zero effect upon him because his internal world was in complete peace. He wasn't trying to process the chaos on the fly. He was focused and calculated. See, Philippians 4:7 in the Amplified reminds us of this. And the peace of God. The peace of God. Again, as Jesus said, not the peace from the world. I don't give you that kind of peace. There is no peace in the world. The peace of God. That peace that reassures the heart. It reassures. That peace which transcends all understanding. And see, I need that kind of peace a lot because there's times I'll look at something, I'll look at someone, I'll listen to someone and say, I don't get them. That's why God had to give me that revelation I shared with you last week. You can't have a rational conversation with an irrational person. Or from that movie, stupid is as stupid does. Stupid people are going to act stupid, so why are you expecting them to act like they're not stupid? Crazy people act crazy. And there's a lot of crazy people in the world today because they've allowed the situation to emotionally gin them up, emotionally stir them up, emotionally create a target and someone to blame. And then they're like, yeah, they're our problem. It's them folk. You got to wake up, guys, because guess who's next on the list? Yep. We are. It's them Christian folk. That's what we saw here. It's them who follow the way. We see that today now. I was in the shower this morning. God gave me that little revelation as I was thinking about this. You know who President Trump is? He's the modern day Paul. You know who the MAGA group is? That's the way. It's their fault we're in this mess. And everyone's getting all ginned up. Because he's the leader, they're the problem, and guess what? It doesn't matter who they grab. As we saw. We see this playing out today. And it's only a matter of time that they're going to say it's some Christian folk. And what I found was interesting, we were at the State House on Thursday. It was a National Day of Prayer. So right out front, they had on the main sidewalk out there a little stage and a little worship thing going and people praying. And as we got out, when we get done, you know, I saw a couple other guys there, so I went and stopped and stood with them. It was interesting to see other legislators walking out, going by, sneering, mocking as they walked by. I'm like, wow, why does that even bother you? Keep on walking. If that ain't your thing, keep on walking. But that's what I mean. We gotta make a target. You gotta create a villain. And the reason why we're having these issues in society is because of those Christian folk. And that's what we saw here. This is why we need to awaken and understand what we're seeing. We're not just reading a historical story here in Acts 19. We're seeing it played out in the world. Can I remind you again, because I've been reminding you all day, Revelation will happen. The last book of the Bible will happen. It's going to occur. And we see it. This was a prelude to it here. It says the peace transcends all understanding. We need to awaken our understanding and be realistic about what's really happening. Not realistic in the sense of the world wants to say you got to be real or realistic. No, no, no. We need that spiritual awakening on the inside that we understand. It says that peace that stands guard over your heart and your mind in Christ Jesus, it says, is yours. You don't have to go looking for it. You got it. But you can only tap into it if you're focused there. Lord, here I am to worship. Here I am to bow down. I'm laying all my ego. I'm laying down all my thoughts. I'm laying down everything because you know what, God? I finally figured out that I'm bad at trying to figure it out. That you are the one that actually knows it all, not me. He says, the peace that guards over your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus is yours. Peace of mind and heart is never absent even when you are surrounded by chaos of the moment. It's never absent. When you find yourself in life swirling around you and you feel like you're in the middle of a tornado, it's never absent. It's yours. It's always there. See, the mayor had it and the crowd didn't. And that is the clearest distinction between those who live at the bottom of the mountain and those who live at the summit. Now catch your second point. The crowd was confused, but the mayor had clarity. See in chapter 19, verse 36 through 38, it says this, since this is an undeniable fact, yeah, the mayor's speaking to the crowd. You should stay calm and not do anything rash. You have brought these men here, but they have stolen nothing from the temple, and they have not even spoken against our goddess. Now catch this. This is the clarity. If Demetrius and the craftsmen have such a case against them, the court is in session and the judges can hear the case. If there's really an issue, let the dude with the problem bring it forward. But no, y'all let him hand it off to you and you run with it.
Trying to end around the situation.
Why are you all out of control? He's the one with the issue and he ain't even here. That's what I told you before. Last week up there. The lobbyist's going to walk in and hand off the issue. You all run with it. Now you all deal with the crowd. All the yelling and the screaming and all the stuff. And I'm going to sit back here and just smile. Life is good. I'm at peace. That's what the mayor did. He walked in and brought some clarity. He said, look, these guys didn't do anything. They didn't steal anything, nor did they speak against the goddess. You know the dude with the real offense is Demetrius. Now again, he's talking to the crowd. If he's really got an issue, the court's open, let him go that way. Remember what Luke already told us? Most of the people in the crowd didn't even know what was going on. They felt the energy and the atmosphere. They heard the outrage and they joined in without even stopping to ask why. You know the biggest thing that's going to get you in trouble in your life? Ask why. Just ask why. You know the crowd gets really upset at why. The groupthink gets really upset at why.
How come and what for?
Because there's nothing behind what they're generating. The whole crowd was upset and freaking out in the town, creating a riot, and they didn't even know why, because the dude with the problem passed it off. And no one in the crowd just stopped and said, why am I here? Why am I even doing this? Why am I engaged with this? Hey, that's your issue. You deal with it. What are you trying to give me your problem for? Do you understand we live in a society that pawns things off on the other guy? Especially in church, and we've been told we got to take it. Someone comes in, needs help, we got to help them. Someone needs money for rent, you got to give it to them. That's what you all Christians do. Why is the world telling us what we ought to do? I told you that story way back. My eyes got open. This woman cussed me out because she wanted money for rent. I have the money. We just started a church in Manchester. I wasn't even getting paid nothing. In fact, I was probably one of the biggest givers at the church at the time. Well, you're supposed to. I'm not supposed to do anything. When I asked why, well, you're supposed to, okay, so because you mismanaged your money or you went through whatever problems you're going through, you're trying to make it mine. No. That's what happened here. That's what the world does. You know, it's our problem. It's our issue to take care of these group of people. Why? Oh, you're a racist and you hate people? No, I'm just asking why. Can you articulate to me why it's my responsibility to take care of that person? I can choose to, 100%. I can decide to, absolutely. I told you, he's just gonna... Know what he just said to me? How come all them people that want towns and everything to get more money, why don't you just pay more? No one's stopping you from paying more. If you think government needs more money, write them a check, they'll take it. You think this town needs more money, write them a check. Guaranteed they'll take it. Well, no, they got to pay more. They got to pay that. Wait a minute, why? Once you ask why. See, no one in the crowd asked why. We need to become a people that ask why. Why do I have to stick that thing in my arm? Well, it's going to do this and that. No, I don't think so. Well, you're a horrible person. You're killing folk. I don't think I killed anybody.
No.
Because I dared to ask why. Be a person that asks why. Stop with the groupthink. Stop with the mob mentality. Stop with the getting so emotionally worked up that you lose your peace and clarity of the situation. That's not what the mayor had. See, that is the manifestation of groupthink. It takes confusion and dresses it up to look like certainty. Way back in that COVID time, people wearing masks, I can still see the one dude in town, follow the science. Where is it now? The hunter's running around. You're going to put the mask on the next time I see you? Follow the science. We did. But it dresses up as certainty. Now catch this. People shouting the loudest are often the most confused. They just don't know it yet. Because they're all worked up taking the thing personal. They got no peace. And when you lose your peace, you lose your clarity.
Common sense.
Common sense too works, babe. Now the man stepped into the same environment. He stepped into that. And he immediately begins to bring clarity to the chaos. He didn't walk in swinging. He assessed the situation accurately. He separated facts from emotions. He acknowledged what was real, dismissed what wasn't. These guys didn't steal anything. What do you bring them in here for? They didn't even say anything bad. Why are they here? He acknowledged the real. Know what the real is? That dude named Demetrius got the issue. If he's got a problem, take it to court. They're in session, go. What are y'all yelling for? See, he pointed to the crowd. He pointed the crowd towards a rational path forward, and because his clarity was grounded, they actually received it. That's the problem today. People don't even receive it.
No.
I mean, you bring clarity. You bring the facts. I told you that's what God spoke to me about. Talking with that other person, I had 3 pages of information there. I had the facts. Not only that, another person was on the other side of me, had 2 court cases, cited them. The person we were talking to didn't give a flip about any of the facts. It's all about emotion. This is what I want. You guys are the problem because you ain't giving it. That's the problem today. Many people have gotten so out of control, even when you bring the facts. But again, I want to encourage you, don't lose your peace and your clarity over somebody else's problem. The issue's with them. Here's something worth understanding. Clarity is not a matter of intelligence. Clarity is a result of a mind that has not been hijacked by emotion, groupthink, or ideology. That's why I was always a disruptor in the faith. I didn't buy into a lot of this stuff. Mary was worse. She really didn't buy into it. But that wasn't, I wasn't going to get hijacked by ideology, groupthink, all this stuff. I mean, you should have saw the guy who first told me, do you own a black suit? I said, no. Why not? Every preacher's got to have a black suit. I said, why? You should have saw him. I thought he's going to levitate off the ground. He got so angry because we all know that. No, apparently we all don't. This is what we see here. This is what we see in society today. Don't you know you gotta? No, I ain't gotta do anything. Especially if you can't even explain to me your why that you think that's what I gotta do. See, when a person's mind gets captured by the chaos, they will always be in a state of confusion. We're looking at a lot of people in the world today completely confused. They don't understand the reality of things. They really don't. But when a person's mind is anchored in peace, rather than the chaos around them, they will always be able to see what others can't. And that always grates people. We just went through that back through our COVID era. Those people that were grounded in peace, didn't get caught in the hype, who sat back and asked why, like me and others. We could see the why, because we were at peace and have clarity. We didn't get all ginned up, all worried, all worked up. Early on, yeah, when it first happened, it's like, whoa, maybe this thing is real or not. And then once you prayed about it, and you sat back and got your peace back, got away from the emotion of the situation, go, and started doing your own research. And it's like, And then you go in the grocery store and you picked up those gray masks and look right on it, and it said, won't do anything for viruses. It's like, And then all of a sudden, a couple months later, that little disclaimer on the box disappeared. It's like, That's what I'm saying. When you stay at peace, this is the thing you got to understand. God has given you peace and His mind so you can walk through the chaos with peace and clarity. But again, catch this, because this is what He's telling me now. That's for you. Now, if you try to share that with somebody else, okay, there's nothing wrong with sharing it, but just be ready that probably most will not receive it. And don't take that personal because they're not at peace. Because when you lose your peace, you get confused. And that's what the situation does. And instead of trying to get your peace back, what it's easier to do is just join the crowd and do what they do. See, his mind was not controlled by the riot. And because of that, he had complete clarity and understanding of the situation. See, 1 Corinthians 14:33, this is in the Mirror translation, says this: God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. God's not the author of confusion. If you're confused, God's not in that at the moment. He's the author of peace. Okay, I'm at peace. He's the author of that. Okay, I have clarity, Lord. Confusion is never an accident. It's always a condition. The mayor refused to surrender his mind to the groupthink and the emotion of the situation. Instead, he chose internal peace and clarity. Now catch this last distinction between the mayor and the crowd. The crowd sought a villain. We went through that. We've hammered that. I hope you really get that. If someone's pointing a finger at somebody else and saying they're the problem, red flags, bells, whistles ought to go off in your head. Because if someone else is able to be your problem, you've got a problem. That means you're out of control and they're in control of you. That's a problem. So the crowd sought a villain, while the mayor sought a resolution. Big difference. Huge difference. The crowd was never going to come to a resolution. Know what their resolution was? Kill them. Get rid of them. They're the problem. Eliminate them and the problem goes away. No, there was a resolution. In verses 40 and 41, this is what the mayor continued to say. And if you keep this up, we will be in danger of being charged with rioting, since there is no cause for all this commotion. Y'all acting like this and there's no reason to. And back then, the way the laws were, if you rioted without a cause, you got in trouble. It certainly ain't like that today. But again, that's the way it was then, and the mayor brought clarity. Look at, if you keep this up, we're going to get charged. Since there's no cause for the commotion. And if Rome demands an explanation, we won't know what to say. If somebody actually comes and says, why are we doing this? We don't know. Told you that last week I think it's hilarious when these journalists or whatever independent people go through these crowds that always have these mass riots and ask people what are they doing and why. They got no clue. All we know is villain, target, problem. It said, then he dismissed them and they dispersed. He said, all right, get out of here before we get in trouble, and they dispersed. Here's the thing about the mob. Their riot depended entirely upon having a villain. Just like today. They're the villain. I'll see that in a couple more months. He's the villain. Not just me, there's going to be 3 of us. In our district, Rockingham 1, they're the villains. We need to put those people in place because look at all what they did. They're the problem. The riot depends entirely upon having a villain. Remove the villain and the mob immediately loses its reason for existing. Take the villain away, mob disperses. because they had no substance behind it. Take away the noise and emotion that the cause simply collapses. As powerful as the crowd looked and sounded, the energy fades away when the target is removed. The moment the mayor redirected their focus, the riot dissolved, because the riot never had a real issue holding them together in the first place. We see that today. Big time. Now look at the mayor. He walked into the crowd with no target, no villain, no personal agenda, and nothing to prove to anyone. He came in with a single purpose: to restore order. And the moment that purpose was accomplished, he was finished. He didn't linger. He didn't take a victory lap. He didn't need anyone to validate what he had just done. He simply did what he came to do and walked away. This is a picture of a man who is completely secure in who he is and the purpose at hand. We need people to get to that place in our lives. No victory lap, no validation, no nothing. Purposeful, in peace and clarity at the job at hand. And like I said, what I've learned now over the last 2 years, you're going to face opposition along the way, which confused me because I thought everybody just wanted to do the right thing. No. See, that is what a koinos being looks like when he walks into a riot. They are not the loudest person in the room. They are not the most forceful. They are not the most aggressive. They are the most focused and purposed. Proverbs 29:11, the Passion Translation says this: a fool gives full vent to his anger, but a wise man quietly holds it back. And I hope we can get to this place, because I really shouldn't say it that way, I won't. Because I've really been putting these things into my life and really focusing on these lately. Now for a while, probably at least a year. I don't get annoyed anymore or whatever. It just concerns me when we see people, Christians, fighting with each other or fighting with other people online or in stuff over different issues. For this same reason, a fool gives full vent to his anger. If you can't have a dialogue with somebody without somebody getting animated, getting loud, or whatever, the person's losing control, and the wise person just holds back, walks away. You can't engage with someone who's out of control that way. I mean, you can try, but it's just amazing to see it, especially online, because everyone's a keyboard warrior. I told you before, when you're face-to-face with somebody, the conversation's a whole lot different than it is behind a keyboard. But understand, it's the fool who's going to vent his anger. It's the fool that's going to lose control, but they don't think they're being foolish because their ego has welled up so much that they feel they need to vindicate themselves and they need to prove themselves. And all that means is you are so insecure in who you are in Christ. Once you truly know that you know that you know who you are, and you are one with Him and He's one with you, and you can never be separated, it will not matter what another human being thinks or says or does. Will you like it? No. Because it's the fool who said in his heart there is no God, just like those people I saw walking Thursday. They're the fool. I don't need to prove to them they're a fool, because they won't know anyway. I got to look out for this one. Am I venting my anger? Why am I getting angry at someone who is a fool? I can try to engage. I can try to wake them up from their foolishness, but if it's going nowhere, it says a wise person quietly holds it back. I'm going to let you get me worked up. You do you. I'm going to do me. I don't like losing my peace. And it's so easy to lose. Really? You want me to share that? All right. Friday night here was so awesome. At least for me. I was at such peace that I haven't felt in a while. You know why? I've been in the craziness of the world lately. This has been an extremely busy month for me. The end of last month and the beginning of this month. Extremely busy. With all the governance stuff. And you don't know how wound up you are until you're able to unwind. And Friday night, I sat right there and I turned into jelly. It was like, whew. And I remember sitting there right near the end and saying, Lord, I want to feel this all the time. In fact, I think when I started praying when we ended, that's what I was saying. And I had to remind myself, I can feel like that all the time. Because He's given me the peace that passes all understanding. And it's my responsibility not to let the lunacy out there get in here. And the only way I can do that is I have to lay it down. I have to start. You want me to say that? Wow. You know what I start saying every morning now? I'll say my spiritual name. I'm going to tell you what it is. Ain't your business. My bride knows. I say, I am, and I say my spiritual name, manifesting in this body as Jim Gazowski today. So you manifest through this for others to see. I remind myself, I ain't this. The real me is in here. I'm just in this vehicle today manifesting. What's going to manifest? This vehicle can manifest because it was trained and programmed and is still being influenced by all this stuff out here. Am I going to let this vehicle decide how I manifest today, or is the real me going to manifest through this for God's honor and glory? Because again, what you focus on, you'll be pulled towards. You'll strengthen. So if you allow yourself to focus on the problem, the lack, the issues, you'll be drawn towards them, and you will become a fool by venting your anger. She says the crowd vented everything they had, every emotion, every ounce of outrage, and in the end they accomplished nothing but chaos. The mayor held his inner peace. He spoke only what was necessary and said exactly what needed to be said. He trusted the truth to do its own work. That wasn't weakness, that is wisdom. And wisdom operating from a place of inner peace will always accomplish more than rage operating from a place of offense. So let me give you a takeaway as we go this morning. I want to encourage you before we resume our climb. You've done some serious work at this base camp. I'm speaking positive. You've done some work at this base camp. You have looked honestly at offense and borrowed outrage and groupthink at the cancer which quickly spread through a crowd who never bothered to stop and ask why. None of these were easy to deal with, and they weren't meant to be. This is the base camp where you either decide to quit, get offended and turn back, or shed the old so that you can make room for the new. That's what this was all about, this little stop at this base camp. I'm either going to quit I'm either going to get offended and quit at all the hard sayings like we saw in John 6, or I'm going to lay it down. Yep, I've been carrying stuff that I didn't realize I've been carrying or whatever, and I'm going to lay it down, Lord, and make room for the new. Now my admonition is this: what you have shed off at this first base camp, leave it there. Leave it there. The offense, the borrowed narratives, the identity you have built around a false ego. None of it belongs on the climb ahead. The mountain will expose dead weight every single time. And the higher you go, the heavier it will get. So leave it here. Fix your eyes on the snapshot you saw this morning. A man who walked into a riot at complete peace. Who saw clearly when everyone around him was confused. Who needed no villain to validate his purpose. Who walked away when the work was done without needing any recognition. That is what awaits at the summit. Are you ready to climb? So, Father, this morning, by your Spirit, may you awaken us. May we see clearly. May we truly begin to feel and sense that peace that passes all understanding. Because, Lord, we live in a world of narratives, emotionally driven, to gin up emotions, to create a villain, to draw a crowd and create a riot. And Lord, in these last days, we need to have people of peace and clarity and understanding that can bring order back to the chaos. But Lord, too often, your people are getting caught up in that. Getting involved in the emotional narratives. Caught up in pointing fingers and creating villains. So Lord, this morning, may your peace that passes all understanding truly fill our hearts. May we feel it and sense it. Know it. And then as we walk into the chaos, the mob, or the riot, may we internally stay at peace, have clarity, and speak truth to bring clear purpose and direction. Knowing that, yes, it may be taken, may not. But we will not let this exterior environment change or create our internal environment. Only you, by your Spirit, has the right to do that going forward from here. And we love you, we praise you, we honor you. And as we go from this place, we've been challenged, stirred, and changed by your Spirit. And we thank you for it all now in the name of Yeshua. Amen and amen.